So I'm going to start with a pretty simple one, which just involves carving out these lines straight with some flat chisels and kind of ending up here. So we'll probably do stop cuts at the end here. And then we're just going to kind of chip carve out these little squares so they kind of sit nicely in the middle in between all these lines. All with straight chisels. What we're going to do now is take a small chisel and kind of angle it down inwards towards the centre of this design, just 4 times. Don't have to go in too crazy deep at the moment. And then just go with the grain and make sure to make the edges angle down in that direction as well. If you just hover the chisel over straight and then angle it up so that the point there is touching the centre point, then you can just push down a little bit like that. Do the same to the other side. Twist it towards the inside, and then the same for the top and the bottom. If it's flat like that, twist it up towards the inside. Push in. You don't have to go in too far yet. Same here. Up there. Push in. And then we want to come in on every side with the grain and angle down. We want each of these segments to angle downwards towards the centre. So that's what we've got to be thinking about every time. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next one, which is kind of like a weave. First thing I'm going to do is to cut lines down here and then make a kind of deep bit here so that the weave sort of sticks out from the wood and then kind of fades as it gets further away. So in order to start off the kind of illusion, the first thing we're going to do is cut this side down and this side down of this central piece. So we'll cut all the way around it with a chisel and then curve that side down and that side down. And then we'll curve this here and this here to go underneath the centerpiece. And hopefully it'll start making a bit more sense then. Now we're going to cut along this line here and along this line here and make those dive underneath this ribbon, and then cut this line here and this line here and make these ones dive underneath those. And then we're going to do the same on the top side. Now all I've got to do is do 2 cuts down the side here. Then I want to curve these middle outside ones under these, and then curve these ones down on both ends, up there and down there. So I've put an L on all the strands, or whatever you want to call them, that I want to be lower than everything else around them. So this wants to be lower than the 2 outside parts, this wants to be lower than this and this lower than this and this, etc. By the way, if you want to have a go at this pattern, there's a free template in the description. You just got to become a free member on Patreon, and then you can download it. Now I'm just going to smooth everything up and make the transitions towards these kind of folds downwards a bit more smooth, so they don't look so harsh, like these harsh angles aren't, you know, going down too far, so we'll smooth them out. So I didn't know if I was going to do the kind of creases going underneath, but let's give it a go and just see what it looks like. I'd rather give it a go and get it wrong than not give it a go and wonder if it was going to look decent. So I'm just going to draw a couple of lines, and then we're going to carve them in like creases and see what happens. Is it better? I'm not sure. I think it does give us some indication of tension, right? Like things that like they're being pulled down under tension because of the wrinkles. So maybe it looks better. I actually have missed out these 2 over here on the sides, but I'll do those now and I don't know, maybe it's better. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one in a second. So this one's kind of a bit more simple to execute, at least in my opinion, but it should look pretty cool, I think. If you've seen the pyramid borders that I do on my carvings quite often, my kind of flat panel carvings, that's what we're going to do in the center here. So these are like 3 pyramids. So what we have to do is cut a line down there, cut a line down there, and then cut a line at the end. And we're going to start by just making kind of 2 channels down each side, which I will now show you how to do. Okay, so let's start by doing our deep cut here, and then just slide it up that same line. Do the same there, and then repeat the same on the other side. Pretty deep cut, come up. Pretty deep cut again, and then we get a smaller chisel that's going to fit in the end there, and do another pretty deep cut, straight down again, nothing particularly fancy, and same at the bottom, straight down. Then what I'm going to do is cut an angle down this way and an angle down this way, making this central line the highest point to start off with. That's our first point of attack, so we'll just do this. I'm not worried about taking away like a ton of material. In fact, it's probably better just to do it little by little. Keep going up here, and then probably re-establishing this side as it comes, you know, as we're getting a bit deeper. We want to re-establish the depth so that we're not like so we don't have any too much chip out or anything like that. And then I'll just keep doing that, going side by side until we have this kind of peak in the middle and the slopes going down the side, like the top of a roof if you're looking, down on a roof from above, that kind of look. Right, so after you've done those two little channels there, the next step is to draw your lines back in, and it's pretty easy with this one, or at least this particular size of template, because they're all 1 centimetre apart. So you draw a line that's 1 centimetre and 1 centimetre, then you've got your 3 sections, right? These middle lines are for where you start the cut. So I'm going to put a chisel cut in here, straight down once again, one in here, straight down, and then we're going to start from this line at the peak here and cut down that way, and then we're going to turn around and cut down this way, and that will give you your little pyramid, and then we just got to repeat it. Okay, so now we've got our pyramids done, and I think if I turn this light off, yeah, you can see they look more like pyramids. It's just the double light giving a bit of a weird illusion. So now that we've done that, what I'm going to do is carve a line around the outside of each one of these, and we're going to curve them over, so all the material on this outside edge is going to kind of dive straight down, and then we're going to curve the rest over, so it looks like a kind of, I don't even know what, like a jelly bean? It's like a kind of smooth little button, maybe. Yeah, I guess like a smooth button. Let's do that now. Now I'd much rather these carvings end up in people's homes rather than just sitting on my workbench. We've already sold 2 so far, but this week I've decided to put up 3 of these carvings, these 3 on 3 separate eBay listings, all starting at 99p. I'll send to anywhere in the world, the links are in the description, so maybe you'll get one of these in your house very soon. But you know what, that looks pretty cool, especially for something that's just made with flat chisels. I've never tried this kind of pyramids with the kind of blob design around it, but I think that looks pretty awesome. It makes you think of some kind of Mayan, old Mayan art, you know, with the kind of the blocky kind of design to it. Anyway, I'll shut my mouth. Next one we're going to do is kind of like the diamond or square one here, except it's triangles. So basically the center line there shows the lowest point. So what we're going to do is cut an angled line in there, an angled line in there where the point of the chisel hits the bottom of this this central line, and then we're just going to carve inwards from the top and the bottom to make those 2 lines meet at the bottom. I will get in close and show you better how that works. I think that one works really well as a border. It can be used on a box or furniture or anything like that. Anyway, this one is pretty simple. The thicker lines are the high points and the thin lines are the low points. So we're just going to kind of like dive down into this point and dive down into that point. Okay, so I'm going to start by cutting a line straight down into like the bottom of the valley, right? So this is where the lines are going to meet down to. And then I'm going to switch chisels to a slightly longer one. And I'm going to put my point inside the valley and go up to the top of the valley on both sides. Same over here. Point in the bottom of the valley, slowly going up to the top. Just make sure you don't cut beyond it. Alright. And then I'm going to come back with a small chisel and come down into the valley from the top edge like this. There's no real indication of how deep you're meant to go that I put in the templates or anything. That's entirely up to you. So we go down that way and then we come from the bottom. I'm going to start by just hitting a little bit in there first. And then coming up here. I'm using this with my opposite hand so it's a bit awkward. Although, it is something I have to get used to. And just keep doing that until we have it the way we want it. Back on the top again just to clean this bit up a bit. And then it's basically just the same all the way down, except these are smaller valleys, these are slightly bigger valleys, and that's back to the big valley again. So. So I think that worked out pretty cool. This is actually the good side. I did actually have a very experimental side here, where I was trying to make this cool kind of Y tessellation thing, but this top part of it was really hard to carve. So this ended up just being like a test side, and this one was the more polished kind of a finished side for people to follow along to a tutorial with, because I wasn't able to figure out how to make that look nice enough for a tutorial, I don't think so. Anyway, remember, if you want to have a go at this, there's a free template in the description. Yeah, next time we'll do a more arty type carving, I guess. I'll catch you later. Thanks for coming.